Okay, your pre-trip starts right here by getting a general look at the truck, making sure there's no puddles under it, no obvious damage to the fairings, the mirrors, the front bumpers, the fenders, or the tops of the trailers. Everything you see, you want to make sure it's in good, clean, healthy condition. Go ahead and climb up in, turn on my lights, my hazard lights. Pop the hood, lift the hood, get my under the hood. As I'm here, I can look at my headlights, my flashers to see if they're flashing. Step back, we can take a look at the clearance lights on top of the tractor, on top of the trailer. Come under the hood. You check the condition of the front tire, all the lug nuts to make sure nothing's missing, nothing's apparently loose or cracked. Make sure the tire has good tread. Get in here and you can take a look at your brakes shoes, make sure they're not worn. Everything's attached fine, there's nothing loose, cracked, missing. Go look at all your frame members, all your bolts on your frames. Make sure nothing's loose or cracked or missing. All your hoses and belts, get everything, make sure your clamps are nice and tight, there's no frays or leaks coming from your hoses. You can see your belts here, make sure nothing's frayed, proper tension on them, all the belts, both the belts. Again, just get a general look at all of your nuts, bolts, wires, make sure the wires are all connected, nothing's frayed, nothing looks burnt, nothing's been on fire. You can step around to the other side. You can also check the condition of the shocks over here. Make sure they're mounted properly, not bent, not cracked, not missing. Your U-bolts the same. All your points of steering column here, you can grab it, give it a shake. Make sure it's clean, not excessive grease or oil. Repeat the same on this wheel here. Make sure that all your lug nuts are nice and tight. Nothing's missing. No cracks. Tires in good shape. All your frame members. There's no missing bolts. Nothing's missing, cracked or broken. Same with your leaf springs again. Check your U-bolts down here. Make sure they're good and tight. No signs of looseness. Shocks good and tight. Sure your turbo, your air-to-air feed on your turbo, your clamps, all these clamps are nice and tight. Check your alternator, make sure all your wires, everything looks healthy, nothing's been burnt, everything's nice and tight. This is your oil dipstick. That's your oil fill tube right there. Radiator caps up here. Just to climb in there to make sure there's proper amount of fluids. Do that. I'm going to slide over here. Check the condition of the door. Make sure the glass clean, not cracked or broken. Same with the windshield over here. Notice the headlights are working, or the signal lights are moving, flashing. The mirrors are not broken. Check the fuel cap, the steps, the whole lower fairing to make sure nothing's cracked, nothing's going to fall off on the road and hit anybody. Make sure it's all good, clean condition. Make sure you fuel if you need to. Check your grab bars, make sure you're going to be safe going up and down. Any lights back here, if you have a light it needs to be working. So we'll look down in here on the catwalk. This is the catwalk area. Again, we're looking for loose bolts, cracked bolts, signs of cracks or loose bolts. If a bolt's loose, it's going to be shiny around here. It's going to be like shiny metal, polished metal. Or there'll be a line of rust running down it. Maybe an oxidized line if it's aluminum. You can see your tires from back here. Where you can, anything you can see, where you can see it, take a look at it. You see some of your suspension components back here, leaf springers, U-bolts, shocks back in there. Make sure there's nothing hanging or loose. Same with the back of your cab. You want to make sure your towers, exhaust tower is nice and tight. Climb. Everything you touch nice and clean. Nothing's tore up. Trailer registration should be in these front boxes. Make sure you take a good look at those. On the back tires, the back wheels, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to check each lug nut, make sure nothing's missing, nothing's cracked or loose. Check the air of the tires by bumping each one with a heavy metal rod. In here we can see the airbags for the air suspension. There's one of them. You can also look up in here. This is a sliding fifth wheel. You see that this side is all the way through, which means the handle over there is engaged. Same with this tire. Each and every tire, you're going to check each and every lug nut. Make sure they're not loose, not missing. You're going to climb under here. You can see the lights. So our four-wheel lights are working, our flasher lights are working. I'm going to crawl under here. Look up the valley of the fifth wheel to make sure that the jaws are locked around the kingpin up in there. You can also check the condition there's not too much grease up here, that there is enough grease up here. If you have lights back here, any lights you see should be working. You check your airbags again. Condition of all your tires. Your pintle hook for towing. A converter dolly if you need to tow a converter dolly. While you're under here, check the general condition of your landing gear. Make sure that's bolted or welded to the frame, that there's nothing cracked or bent or missing. Look for excessive rocks or sand or something up here that's going to fall off and hit a car behind you, possibly cause a lawsuit or injury. Check up and down the whole side of the trailer to make sure it's in good tack. It doesn't have any holes, no damage, nothing's going to fall off. These snow chains, make sure they're on there, they're not going to come off. Move to the back carriage. This is a sliding tandem axle. It slides on this rail right here. This is one pin. There'll be another pin. Where is it? This whole unit slides back and forth, kind of like your sliding fifth wheel. The release is on the other side. We make sure these pins are out of the holes. This whole carriage should stay. Get up your tires, make sure your tire pressure is good. With a heavy metal rod or a hammer, works really well. We're going to check each lug nut to make sure that nothing's missing. You can see these little rust runs here. That is a sign that they may be loose. So if you have a mechanic, you might want to bring that to their attention, have them torque down on those. Definitely write it up on your post-trip inspection. Same with this wheel, you want to check the steering, make sure each lug nut isn't missing or loose. Make sure you have mud flaps. All your lights are working. These are a little bit dim, but it's working. Same here. In the back here, we go in and check under the, we should actually go under there. And check our brake shoes. Sure there are plenty of shoes. These look pretty good. There's a crawl in the front one. Look at those. And to do a brake check, we need to release all the brakes, chock the tires. We haven't done that at this point. Like this frame's been welded right here. I would keep an eye on this. You see a little crack right there. A little crack right in there. So if I were taking this trailer every day, I'd keep a close eye on that, just to be safe. And coming around to this side, make sure you have mud flaps. Checking the tires. I didn't mention this before now, but this is where you put your oil in your hubs. This little cap comes off. You pop oil in there and you put this cap back on. Hopefully this doesn't break. There we go. Check each lug nut to make sure they're tight, not missing. No bends in the wheels or in the rims. This is the release for the tandem axle slide. This is what you would You would adjust this if you were in running tight quarters inside of town, a small city. You need to make an adjustment to shorten up your axles. You also need to be aware of the more you shorten this, the longer your overhang is back there, and it swings out when you make a turn, so you may hit something with the corner of your trailer. Make sure your chains are properly mounted. Under here, you want to check for your air lines and make sure that nothing's frayed, nothing's been damaged by hitting something going down the road. Looking at the general condition of your belly all the way across. Make sure nothing's missing, cracked, loose, hanging down as it shouldn't be. Check the general condition on the side of your trailer. Anything looking for damages. Wear you should make people aware of. Back to your landing gear, the same thing, making sure everything over here, that there's no cracks, nothing's bent, no excessive dirt sitting on the foot there, that your handle's properly stowed. Make sure you have a fifth wheel, Make sure you have a mud flap behind your wheels here. Again, you can look at your other airbag, the one we've already looked at. And look at your top shock mount. Bump each tire to make sure you have air in each tire. Check each lug nut to make sure nothing's missing, no apparent signs. This is an aluminum wheel. If there is a loose lug nut, it will not show a rust line. It may show a white line, like an oxidized line, but it will not show rust, since aluminum doesn't rust. You can check these springs up here to make sure they're mounted. Look all along your frame, make sure you see no loose bolts, nothing apparently cracked, no illegal welds. This wheel, the same thing. Check all your lug nuts, make sure nothing appears loose, cracked, or missing. Over here you have an air drain. Drain extra liquid from your tank. There's another one on the other side as well. You should do that once a day. Check the general condition again of your steps, your climb bars, the back of the cab. These are your service and emergency and electrical air connections or connections for your trailer. If they have a place to stow them on the back of the tractor over here. In the box here we have our triangles. You can make sure that we have 3 of those if they are in working order. The fire extinguisher that is fully charged and ready to go. This will be something you can bump the tires with. Hammer works fine. Baseball bats tend to be shunned upon if pulled over. Make sure your steps are all good, safe and secure. Again, looking up the side of the truck, making sure everything is attached. Nothing's bent or going to fall off while you're going down the road. Check the condition of your glass, make sure it's clean, not cracked or broken. Your mirror's clean, not cracked or broken. Your lights are working. This one has some tape on it. Back to the windshield. Note any chips or scratches. There's a chip right here. I would mark that on my post-trip inspection at the end of the day before I turn in my paperwork. Then we're going to climb up in the cab. Okay, so after you climb up in the cab, locate your license and registration, any trip permits you needed. Finish out your air brake test. We have another video for that. And that's about it.